Welcome to another video here at Top Busso. Today we are going to learn the 10 things that led Joe Rogan to a $100 million deal with Spotify. Let's get started right away. Hit the like button before we continue. Number 1. Have discipline.
The one thing that discipline definitely does help you with is it helps you get things done. And when you get things done, when you actually do things, you have more success. If you have more success, and sometimes a big part of success is just not being lazy and just doing it.
Yeah.
That's like 90% of it is just showing up. Get there and start working. Like, you're not going to feel perfect every day. If I only worked out when I felt good, I'd be a fat because there's a lot of days I don't want to do it. It's pretty much the same with everybody that actually gets good at something. There's got to be those days you push through, and they're probably going to be more numerous than the days you don't. And so the benefit of discipline in my eyes has always been that through discipline I get things done. I always say that I'm like the most lazy, disciplined person I know because I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I always do.
Number 2. Write it all down.
Write it down.
Yeah.
Write down everything you want to do. And I don't mean crazy shit, like I'm going to be the Prince of Brunei. I'm going to have a base in the moon. Shut up. This is what I want you to do. Write down what you would like to fix about your life. And then just, if you're 30 pounds overweight, you want to lose 30 pounds? Do it the right way. Go start eating vegetables, monitor your calories, write down what you eat, exercise every day, force yourself to do it. Say you're the general. The brain is the general, the troops are the body. The troops don't want to listen, but you go, you listen, and you get up and you do it. And then you get to write it down. And if you don't write it down, you don't eat, you don't shower. Write that down. So you do it. It's like brushing your teeth. It's not something, I don't want to brush my teeth today. What do you want, your teeth to rot out of your head, you dunce? Just do it. Just do it. Make yourself do it. And if you do that, if you write down and do that, you can change who the you are.
Number 3. Discomfort is your friend.
Our bodies, for whatever reason, most people, their associations are to avoid anything that's uncomfortable. But it's so illogical because when you look at comfort and you look at success and progress and the feelings of accomplishment and of getting past certain hurdles in terms of like how you feel about life, a lot of those are connected to discomfort. Like, discomfort is your friend. It really is. Like, discomfort and not being happy and content with certain situations in life or certain feelings in life, they're massive motivators, and they're amazing at facilitating change. And yet our instinct is to avoid those and just sit on the couch and watch some reality show about dudes who make moonshine with our jaw open, like, it's bizarre.
Number 4. Overcome resistance.
There's a lot of artists and comics, I bet musicians as well, but writers for sure. One of the big problems is sitting down and doing the work. Mm-hmm. And you gotta, and Pressfield talks about that in the most concise and beautiful way, and he labels it like an enemy. He calls it resistance. Mm-hmm. And that you have to sit down and you have to overcome resistance, and that the pro goes to work. And it doesn't matter if you're sick, doesn't matter if you have kids, it doesn't matter what, you're a pro and you go to work. And that just, it puts it in your head that this is what I do. This is what, and you have pride in that. And then when you are in front of that keyboard and you look down the count, it says, I got 1,000 words today. I put 1,000 words in. You're doing the work. Yeah. And out of that work, gems blossom. Yeah. Little things, but you might have a day where you just write nothing but dog shit. So what? Show up again tomorrow. And tomorrow out of that dog shit, a flower will emerge. You never know. And that's the only way to develop to really develop your potential 100% in anything.
Number 5. Don't dwell on the past.
If I look back on anything I've ever done, mistakes I've ever made, paths that something that I put out that I didn't quite think, man, maybe I just waited 3 months before I released that, or maybe I should have, re-edited that blog post a couple more times before I put it online, or those things drive me crazy. But things that I've done have driven me crazy, but yelling at someone I didn't have to yell at them for, whatever. But the most important thing is always for all people to recognize that you're not who you were a year ago. You're not who you were 5 years ago. You're not who you were last week. You're who you are now, and this is the only you have control over. So you got to regulate how much you dwell on regrets of the past. You really got to be careful, because it's good to have a little. Because my regrets, whether it's things of professional nature or the very few regrets friendship-wise, which is one thing that makes me very happy. But you know, there's life is strange. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of factors happening in life. But for sure, who I am now wouldn't have ever happened if I didn't fuck up. If I didn't make those mistakes, I wouldn't have understand the importance of friendship and kindness. And if I hadn't been cruel at some point in my life, or someone hadn't been cruel to me, I wouldn't understand the beauty of love. I wouldn't understand the full range of it, because I hadn't felt the sting. If nobody ever punches you in the face, you don't really appreciate safety. Because a lot of people don't even understand what safety is. You put, oh, we're safe, but you are so not safe at any moment. You know, and when someone's punched you in the face a bunch of times, and you've been in a street fight with some guy you barely knew, you got in an argument with him, there's something about regular safety that's sweeter.
Yeah.
It's more delicious.
Yeah.
It's more delicious. It's way better to drive your car straight after you almost lost control on a turn. You're like, wah! And then you get back straight, you're like, whoa.
For sure.
I'm not saying that you should go sideways around corners, but what I am saying is that there's a yin and a yang to this world, man. And you gotta fuel yourself with the fuck-ups. And most people get stuck in these patterns because they define themselves as a fuck-up, or they define themselves as a person who doesn't follow through on their ideas, or a person who doesn't pursue their real interests and loves. You define yourself by that. Well, you know, I guess I start things and I quit. No, you don't. No, you have started things and you quit. And it gives you a horrible sense of regret that's made you define yourself by that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that.
Number 6. Have goals.
Your life would feel better and richer if you had a goal, you chase that goal, you accomplish some things, you would get this boost of confidence, you'd get this boost of self-esteem, like whatever it is that you're into doing. Maybe you're into drawing comic books, maybe you're into making pottery or sculptures, but find whatever the that is and pursue that instead of doing nothing. Like the people that are doing nothing, those are the real people. I mean, look, doing something might be as simple as like that Alex Honnold guy. He just climbs rocks, but he's world-class rock climber. Though. It's something.
Number 7. Pay attention to criticism.
I get to where I have to tell people things that are true that are even embarrassing about me now, because it's like it's so weird. You can feel the energy. You guys want to talk about that? Because, I mean, you brought this up. Elaborate on how strange, because few know this. Few get to talk hours a day in front of people and then learn that it becomes a real relationship.
Well, yeah, it definitely does. And you know what else is? Goddamn, you learn so much from those people, man. You know, even people who are critical, like they send you a link to correct you, like this is the real information, and you have the inaccurate information. Like, if you don't have an ego about all that, if you could deal with the fact that you might be wrong, or you might have jumped to a conclusion, there might be many possible scenarios.
It's a giant thing.
You learn so much from people on Twitter, man. You know, a lot of people will complain about like negative things on Twitter. I don't get that much negative on Twitter, but I occasionally get like, yo, I'm gonna punch you in your face if I see you, faggot.
It's little kids.
You know?
But
well,
even the
maybe
negative,
it might not even be
grab
that.
like something from some of the negative stuff. Like even if there's like a ton of negative, usually there's like a 1% truth to it.
Yeah,
that 1%
yeah.
will kind of stick in the back of your head where you're like, all right, he took it to like the next level, but I do understand that 1% of what he's talking about.
Yeah, you can get a hater who's like 90% hater, but 10% has a point. It does help you. I really believe it. It's a terrible feeling, that feeling when someone's hating on you, but I find it very beneficial. Yeah. Because for two reasons. One, because it's like snake venom. Because like if you get bit by a rattlesnake and you've ever been bit by a rattlesnake before, it will you up. Like someone who has never been famous and then all of a sudden decides to do a reality show and then they get all these insults hurled at them from every direction online. That has got to be horrific. That's just going to be torturous. But when you take a little bit of hate venom and a little bit of hate venom, then you develop an immunity to it. You kind of understand what it is.
It becomes enjoyable.
Well, then it becomes a checking mechanism, and I look at it almost like as if it's an algorithm. And I look at it like, well, this negative coming in, like how much does it affect me, and how much does it affect the positivity that I put out? Like, if I dwell on it, well, then it'll surely me out. But if I just look at it, and if I truly look at myself to say, okay, do they have a point? And if they do have a point, if I am being a like that's very important to be honest about that and to look at that.
Number 8. Get after it.
I enjoy a lot of things, and what I've found that the best way to live my life for me, I'm not saying, other people, some people really love their life to sit around and f*** off. When I sit around and f*** off, I don't like me. Yeah. I like to get things done, but the things that I do, they're recreational. They're all fun. Like Disneyland was fun as f*** with my kids. Eddie Bravo Invitational was fun as f***. The UFC was fun as f***. My show, sold out show at the Ka Theater where they do the Cirque du Soleil at MGM. Damn. With Joey Diaz and Jim Norton Friday night. Fun as f***.
It's fun as f*** too.
Those are jobs, right? But those are fun things.
Yeah.
And training is fun. Stand-up comedy couldn't be any funner. The only real work is like, you gotta discipline myself to sometimes work out when I don't want to, write when I don't want to. This is how I feel. It's harder for me to not do what I'm supposed to do than it is for me to do what I'm supposed to do. Because if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, then I deal with regret and doubt. I've done it before. I've done it a lot of my life. I've felt those feelings. I don't like it. So what I do is I just don't do that. I just say, well, what is the difference? If I don't do it, then I'm gonna have to feel like I didn't do it and feel like a loser. So get after it.
Number 9. Be creative.
We were talking before this podcast about Holly Holm's victory over Ronda Rousey. And one of the things that we were talking about was that Ronda had this very linear, straightforward attack. You knew she was coming, and Holly is a master at countering. So all she had to do was wait and move, and Ronda was coming in one direction. There was no variation.
There was no creativity.
There was no creativity. It was a mad bulldog rush that had worked on everybody else before. But she found one person who was a virtuoso at movement. And she needed creativity, and it wasn't there. And she needed that experience that came with having faced someone who knew that position and had a deep understanding of that movement, and she didn't have that in her repertoire. And so that's the result that we saw. Like a striker like Anderson Silva is extremely creative. If you watch, she's got a fight versus Tony Ficklin in Cage Warriors. Cage Warriors? What the f*** was it called in England? Small organization in England.
I think it's called Cage Warriors.
Yeah. Where he practiced this step-in uppercut elbow, like a sideways elbow. And his coach was going, "You're crazy, stop practicing that." And he would make his wife hold a pillow because his coach didn't want him to practice it anymore because he thought he was wasting his time. So he practiced stepping. His wife would hold a pillow for him, and he'd step in and throw this uppercut elbow. That's what he knocked out Ficklin with. Yeah. And Ficklin was outclassed in that fight, but he wanted to make a point. And like the front kick that he landed in the face of Vitor Belfort, Vitor never saw that shit coming because nobody had done that to him before. Because nobody had done that in the history of the UFC. Nobody had ever knocked anybody out with the first kick you learn in martial arts. But the creativity to try something like that. He would throw punches to your thigh from standing. He would throw a jab to your thigh. He would throw a crescent kick, an inside crescent kick to your face. Like, what the f***? It was part of what made him such an effective striker, is that he threw these things that you just didn't expect him to do.
Number 10. Enjoy what you do.
It's very rare that someone is successful that doesn't have a crazy schedule.
Yes.
And if they are, they're not going to appreciate it. They're going to, but it's all like, what is where you're at? Like, is where you're at where you want to be? Like, are you enjoying it? Because what I'm happy about the most is that I enjoy what I do. So when I'm doing, like, if I was working as a CEO of some corporation or something like that, and I was putting all these crazy hours, like the same kind of hours I put in now, the same kind of effort, I'd probably be a miserable, drunk, pill-popping psychopath who's just looking to escape and go bang hookers or something. I'd be looking for some sort of a release.
Thanks for watching our video once again. Don't forget to hit the like button, share and subscribe. We appreciate your support.